One of the northernmost countries of Europe, Finland is located between Russia on the east, Sweden on the west, and the tip of Norway on the north. On the southwest the land juts into the Baltic Sea, which splits into the Gulf of Bothnia on the country's western side and the Gulf of Finland along its southern edge. About one-third of the length of the country lies north of the Arctic Circle. The country's Ahvenanmaa, or Åland Islands, extends from the southwestern shore into the Baltic. The climate, soils, and landforms make human settlement difficult in the northern two-thirds of the country. Most of the Finnish people live in the southern third of the country, either along the coast on the Baltic Sea and the Gulf of Finland or around the edges of the numerous lakes that dot the glacially formed landscape. The capital of Finland is Helsinki. Area 150,928 square miles, 390,903 square kilometers. Population, 2020 est. 5,533,000. Finland is a stable, progressive country despite natural, political, and economic handicaps. It has been independent only since 1917. The young republic was defeated twice by the forces of the Soviet Union during World War II. The Finns were forced to give up valuable land areas, resettle more than 400,000 people, and pay large reparations to the Soviet Union. Since that time the Finns have rebuilt their country and have maintained a neutral foreign policy. Land and climate. The land surface of Finland is underlain by ancient granitic rocks that were severely eroded during the Ice Age. Most of the country lies at low elevations, with mountainous terrain restricted largely to the far north. Poorly drained land dominates much of the surface, which is dotted by an estimated 55,000 lakes. Inland water covers 12,979 square miles, 33,615 square kilometers, of Finland's area. The hilly areas, ridges, lakes, and marshes were formed by glaciers. The most fertile soils lie mainly along the coast and around the inland lakes, but they are sparse. Finland has a high-latitude, continental-type climate. In the southern part, moderating winds off the North Atlantic and the Baltic Sea prevent severe weather conditions. The northern portions of the country have long, severe winters and short, cool summers. Frost can occur during any month in the north, and even in the south the growing season averages only 3 months or less. Because of the country's far northern latitude, however, it has long hours of summer daylight, which somewhat offsets the short growing season. The annual average precipitation ranges from 24 inches, 61 centimeters, in the south to 16 inches, 41 centimeters, in the far north. Winter snowfall is considerable. Plants and animals. Forests cover much of Finland, and lumbering is a major industry. Pines and spruce are the main coniferous species, and in the south they are mixed with deciduous trees, such as birch, hazel, aspen, maple, alder, and linden. Trees of the northern forests are often dwarfed in size because of the poor growing conditions. The northern tundra, or bogland, zones have lichens, moss, and cloudberries in addition to the stunted trees. The animal life of Finland is adapted to a land of large forest and water areas and a rather rugged climate. Waterfowl abound on coastal and inland waters. Animals such as bear, wolf, elk, wolverine, and lynx inhabit the forests. Abundant reindeer serve as domesticated animals in the northern Lapland area, see Lapland. Among fish species are Baltic herring in the coastal waters, salmon, trout, and whitefish in northern inland waters, and perch and pike in the southern lakes and streams. People and culture. The Finnish language belongs to the Finno-Ugric language group, which also includes Hungarian and Estonian. Notable minority groups include the Sami, Lapps, in the north and the Swedes along the Baltic Sea coast and in the Ahvenanmaa. The Sami may be descendants of the original Finnic or Mongolian tribes who came to the region. There are several thousand Sami, and the Swedish group totals about 6% of the population but is steadily decreasing in number. Although Finland does not have an official language, Finnish and Swedish are both considered national languages. There is no official, or state, religion, and though the Evangelical Lutheran and Finnish, Greek, Orthodox churches have special recognition, freedom of religion is granted to all religious groups. The majority of the people are Lutherans, though there are small minorities of Greek Orthodox and persons not affiliated with a particular religion or other beliefs. Because Finnish culture has been rather isolated, it has developed distinct characteristics. The Kalevala, a national folk epic published in 1835, has fostered the Finns' pride in their heritage and a sense of national unity. Elias Lönnrö, a Finnish folklorist, conceived the idea of writing down the folk tales and songs that evolved throughout Finnish history and molding them into this epic poem. See Lönnrö. A number of Finnish musicians, artists, and authors have achieved international acclaim. The symphonies of the composer Jean Sibelius are especially well known. Frans Sillanpää won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1939. Contemporary Finnish architecture and sculpture have won a worldwide reputation. The Finns are particularly noted for their accomplishments in industrial arts, especially ceramics and glassworking. The Finnish theatre is represented by some 40 professional companies. Opera, symphonies, and music festivals are popular. Sports also play an important role in Finnish society. Finns compete internationally in such events as cross-country skiing, ski jumping, long-distance running, and other track and field events. Also popular are water skiing, riding, fishing, and shooting. The sauna, a bath in steam from water poured over hot stones, is a national tradition. It is common on farms and in city homes. Finland has been a leader in the passage of social legislation. It was one of the first countries to enforce the 8-hour workday, paid holidays, employee pensions, disability, life, and survivors insurance, and the protection of women and children in industry. In 1906, Finland granted equal suffrage to all its citizens. Cooperative economic activities, in which large numbers of people share both labor and rewards, are major elements of Finnish society. Education is state-supported in Finland. Schooling is required from ages 7 to 15 and is free. Instruction for all students is standard. Virtually 100% of the people are literate. The University of Helsinki, founded in Turku in 1640 and transferred to Helsinki in 1828, is the foremost of the nation's institutions of higher education. Economy. Agriculture is decreasing in importance in the Finnish economy. Agriculture, fishing, and forestry accounted for 36% of the labor force in 1960 but less than 5% by the end of the 20th century. Nevertheless, as a matter of government policy, Finland remains self-sufficient in food staples. However, the country depends heavily upon foreign trade to obtain items such as machinery, oil, coal, food, chemicals, vehicles, and others required for its economy. Germany, Sweden, the United Kingdom, Russia, the United States, and Japan are its leading trading partners. Agriculture and forestry. Farming in Finland is difficult due to the short growing season, infertile soils, and poorly drained land. Less than 10% of Finland's area is cultivated. The chief crops are barley, oats, sugar beets, potatoes, wheat, and rye. Frost is a major problem and frequently causes some degree of crop failure. Cattle are raised for beef and for dairy products, including milk, butter, and cheese. The majority of the farms are small, averaging only 10 to 50 acres, 4 to 20 hectares, in area. Forests provide Finland with a significant economic resource. Two-thirds of the forest land is privately owned by farmers, and forest products normally provide more than one-third of an average farm income. Lumbering is an important part-time activity for farmers in southern Finland and is also a major commercial activity. The nation is a major supplier of wood and paper products to Western European nations. Mining. Finland has a variety of metallic mineral deposits, though it does not have any coal or petroleum. Chromite is an important mineral product. About 500,000 tons of chromite are mined annually. Zinc, iron, copper, nickel, gold, and silver are other important metallic minerals. Granite is quarried for the building industry. Manufacturing. Manufacturing, based largely upon the processing of forest products and using hydroelectric power for energy, has grown rapidly. This trend has drawn more people to the cities for employment, and the urban population has grown to 3/5 of the population. Forest products were among Finland's most important export products in the late 1990s. Production of items from forests and mines provide employment for large segments of the population. In the late 1990s, a large percentage of manufacturing employees worked in the wood, paper processing, and printing industries. Other significant sources of employment were the metal, machinery, and transport equipment industries, as were industries producing chemicals, electrical equipment, textiles, tobacco, and food and beverages. Glass, porcelain, and earthenware are important craft industries. Manufacturing industries are mostly located in Helsinki and other coastal cities, and in southern inland centers. Transportation and communication. Despite difficulties of terrain, the large number of lakes, and poorly drained land, an extensive road and rail network has been developed. The state owns the country's railroads, with more than 3,600 miles, 5,800 kilometers, of track. There are approximately 48,000 miles, 78,000 kilometers, of public roads, of which roughly 65% are paved. The country has about 4,000 miles, 6,400 kilometers, of navigable waterways. A network of airports links the various parts of Finland. The state-owned Finnair, an international airline, serves mainly Europe and the United States. Radio and television broadcasting, also state-controlled, is extensive. Television service began in 1958, and the state has operated radio broadcasting since 1934. There were 55 daily newspapers published in 2000, some of them printed in Swedish. Government. Finland has been a republic with a government based on a constitution since July 17, 1919. A one-chamber parliament exists with 200 members elected for 4-year terms. The minimum voting age is 18, and anyone over 20 is eligible to run for parliament. The president is elected every 6 years by an electoral college and is assisted by a cabinet. Among the many political parties, the Centre Party has the largest membership and promotes the interests of small farmers. Other parties include the Social Democrat Party and the National Coalition Party. Finland is divided into 5 provinces and 1 autonomous territory, each headed by a governor, appointed by the president. History. Finland was inhabited for centuries before the arrival, between AD 100 and 300, of the ancestors of the present Finns. Permanent settlements date to about AD 1000. After the arrival of Christianity, Sweden established important settlements along the Bothnian coast. The Swedes invaded Finland in 1155 and held control until 1809, when Sweden surrendered it to Russia. A brief period of independence followed the Russian defeat by Japan in 1905, but a second period of Russian domination began in 1909, lasting until the Declaration of Independence in 1917. The country adopted its first constitution in 1919. Events during World War II were disastrous to Finland. The nation was defeated by the Soviets in the Russo-Finnish War, or Winter War, in 1939–40. Then in 1941, with Nazi Germany as an ally, Finland won back its lost territory and even occupied some additional Soviet land. Finland was again overwhelmed by the forces of the Soviet Union in 1944. An armistice was signed with the Soviet Union, and Finnish forces were withdrawn behind the Moscow Treaty Line of 1940. The peace treaty ending World War II forced Finland to give up 12% of its territory and pay war reparations to the Soviet Union totaling $226,500,000 over 8 years. The debt was to be paid in wood products, cable, ships, and metal goods. To fulfill this obligation, Finland's shipbuilding and metal industries were greatly increased. The debt was paid in 1952. Another problem created by the Soviet treaty was the resettlement of about 420,000 Finns who fled the Karelian area taken over by the Soviet Union. Pioneer farm units were created in the north, and existing farmers gave up land to make new farms in the south. Many of these people subsequently have migrated into cities for employment or to Sweden, where Finns are now a substantial minority group. Finland joined the United Nations in 1955 and is a member of the Nordic Council and the European Union. Urho Kekkonen was successful in maintaining international neutrality during his long term as president from 1956 to 1981. In 1982, Mauno Koivisto was sworn in as Finland's president. He was re-elected in 1988. On a visit to Finland in October 1989, Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev recognized Finland's neutral status and announced his policy of Soviet non-interference in the affairs of its neighbors. In 1991, Finland re-established diplomatic ties with the Baltic republics. Koivisto retired in March 1994 and was replaced by Martti Ahtisaari, a social democrat who defeated better-known politicians in an upset victory. In February 2000, Ahtisaari was succeeded by Tarja Halonen, who was narrowly voted into office as Finland's first female president. In March 2000, a new Finnish constitution went into effect.